Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Friends, today, Saturday, June 3rd, 2023. We are going to study a verse from the Dhammapada. This verse is in the Buddha Vagga. It deals with how to attain joy in a world full of sorrow. I think everybody would like to know how to attain this happiness in this world, right? A common phenomenon that all beings wish for is happiness and comfort. But often this journey ends in sorrow and suffering. This is because they are blinded by ignorance and bound by craving. They seek happiness in the wrong way. When the Buddha was present in the world, two royal families, both relatives of the Buddha, came into conflict, and both parties would have been exterminated had Buddha not intervened. Now, this is the background story of that incident. The river Rohini lies between Kapilavattu, the city of the Sakyans, and the Kolian city belonging to the Kolians. They are both. Now, Buddha comes from the Sakya clan and his wife is from the Kolian family. During one dry season, the water was not enough for both parties. So, each state tried to monopolize the water. And ultimately, the rulers, it was first the cultivators who were fighting, who were quarreling and fighting and, trying to outdo the one party, trying to outdo the other party. But ultimately, the rulers got ready to fight for control of the water. The Buddha, as usual, after morning meditation, surveyed the world to see if there were any beings that needed help. He realized that if he did not go to the Rohini river at that time, the two parties would kill each other. The Buddha, it is said, appeared in their midst. When the Sakyans and Kolians saw the Buddha, they dropped their weapons and paid respect to the Buddha, because both parties were Buddha's relatives. When the Buddha questioned them about the cause for the war, they replied that it was to get the water for cultivation. Then the Buddha asked them the value of the water. How much, the water is of value. They replied that the water was not of much value. Then the Buddha asked the worth of the royal kings and princes who were taking part in the war. They answered that the king's value could not be measured. They were of such great value. Then the Buddha asked them, if that is so, why are you trying to destroy these human lives of great worth for the sake of an unworthy thing? Not that water is unworthy, but comparatively, that is what the Buddha wanted to show them. The kings and princes had no reply to give. Then the Buddha gave them a sermon based on this verse. Now, this is the first verse. There are 3 verses. I will tell you the first verse, right? And I will deal with all 3 actually. Now, this is the first verse. Susukang vata jivama verinesu averino verinesu manusesu viharama averino, which means, happily do we live without hate amongst the hateful. Amidst hateful people, we live without hating. Now, who does he mean by we? He means the Buddha and his disciples, right? So among hateful people means now people, they have their quarrels and conflicts, the ordinary lay people. So among them, the Buddha and his disciples, they live without hate. That is what he meant. He showed them the difference between the lives of people with anger, ill will, and hatred, and none hatred, none ill will, and no anger. The former, that is the people with all these defilements, are always sick, burning with desire, plotting against their enemies, while the latter, that is the ones without hate and so on, are very happy, in good health, without any obstacles, always delightful, satisfied, contented, and joyous. Now, how is it that they are like that? The gist of the sermon was that they had made their minds restless by hatred and other defilements and seeking for sensual pleasures. The Buddha said that although living among the hate-filled beings, the Aryans, or those who had given up defilement, that is the Arahants, right? The ones who had attained enlightenment, right? So those lived very happily. Among those beings who are sick with defilements, they live without sickness. Among those who are always seeking sensual pleasures and are restless when they don't get it, or even if they get it, right? Without such wishes, they live happily. By listening to the Buddha, many attained stream entry or sotapanna. The war was also stopped, and the 2 sides agreed to share the water amicably. Now, if they had done it earlier, nothing would have, Buddha wouldn't have given this sermon, right? So, in a way, it helped Buddha to give this sermon and for us to listen to it today, right? From this incident, we can see how anger, hatred, and ill will spring in the mind, not anywhere else, in our minds. If any war starts in any part of the world, now you know there are in certain parts of the world, or now at this time also, there is war going on, right? It is always due to the mind of human beings, not anywhere, anything else. The anger springs in the mind, and little by little it gathers force and becomes a hatred, which first burns the owner, the one who has started it, and then those around, and brings suffering to everybody. You must have heard of Devadatta's animosity with the Buddha. Devadatta was actually the Buddha's cousin and also his brother-in-law, because he was the brother of Yasodhara who married Siddhartha, right? It was due to the great hatred he harbored against the Bodhisattva. Now, see, the hatred started many, many thousands of years earlier, when the Buddha had not attained enlightenment. He was still a Bodhisattva. At that time, this enmity started, right? So many thousands of births earlier. Today, we see that this fire of anger and hatred has spread all over the world. And humans think that happiness is conquering one's enemy. But if one is successful in a war, it will only increase the hatred. The party that lost will be waiting to take revenge. When one does not practice metta or loving kindness or loving friendliness, this defilement becomes one's personality or character trait. It's like having a wound that, that does not easily get better, right? Each time she or he is irritated, the wound hurts. And this defilement called hatred will make him or her to be reborn in lowly existences. Now, even Devadatta, who was doing all kinds of bad things to kill the Buddha, to wound the Buddha, and so on, in the end, when he died, he went into a very lowly place where he is still suffering. The Buddha has given 5 ways of pacifying any hatred that one may feel against another. First is the metta meditation and practice, right? That is the loving friendliness meditation. Secondly, to think of that person, the one you are angry with compassion and kindness. For sometimes even kindness may help to understand the opponent's weaknesses and see that person as a patient or a sick person. So if you are not going to, now when you see a sick person, you are not going to hurt that person. So if you think of the person who is against you, the enemy, also as a sick person, you will not want to hurt, right? Even if that person hurts you, right? Sometimes equanimity too can be a way of letting go of hatred. We can think like this also. My body is similar to his or hers. Both are made up of elements. So one may question, which element am I angry with? Is it the earth element that covers our body, or the now earth element means the bones and all the hard things that are in this body, or the water element, or the air element that we breathe in and out, or the heat element, the warmth that you feel in the body. Are you angry with any of these elements? You can ask a question like that. So also try not to think of that deed or action which was making you angry. Understand that revengeful thought is what keeps repeating the hateful thoughts. Now, the hateful thoughts means the angry thoughts, the thoughts of ill will that, we harbor in our mind and carry it with us, to even later on. After weeks and months, we still think of that particular incident and think that that person has wronged us. All that is because we have revengeful thought. We want to take revenge, for what has happened. Again, remember that all beings have karma as their inheritance. So if that person has hurt you, then it is that person's karma, not yours. Why should you make some karma based on that? And whatever one does, that one will reap the consequences too. So if you add to it, you will also reap the consequences. So I should not be a party to it. Many people think that they are going to teach a lesson, but they do not see the hate or anger that's totally covering their mind. It is because of that anger that you want an excuse to say something to that person, right? Thinking that you are teaching that person a lesson. All this shows us how our life is progressing. Is it progressing towards the Noble Eightfold Path or away from it, right? All our actions are governed by our intentions. This is due to the way we see and look at things and incidents. We could change this outlook, and Buddha says it should be done according to the Dhamma. In the Dhamma, there are two ways of contemplating anything, that is seeing anything, that is contemplating correctly, that is called yoniso manasikara, and contemplating wrongly, that is called ayoniso manasikara. Wrong thinking is due to greed, ill will, and delusion. To develop this compassion, one could say, always, always you can say this to yourself, be well, be peaceful, not only to yourself, but to others too. You're not saying it in, with your mind, with your lips, but in your mind, in all waking moments, all waking moments, you think of these words, what? Be well, be peaceful. The result of this is a total change in one's intentions and the attainment of samadhi. Now, very often we find it very difficult to attain samadhi or concentration, right? So, when we do this, it will help in that too. The good results of metta practice is gaining 11 rewards. That is, these are the things that Buddha has said, right? The rewards that you get when you practice metta or loving friendliness or loving kindness. A good sleep, awakening happily. Do not get hallucinations or bad dreams. Is loved by everyone. Similarly, pleasing to non-humans. Non-humans means maybe devas, deities, or even the lower, lower beings like petas and so on. No deities, the deities protect one. You see, the deities will protect you. Due to the power of metta, neither fire nor poison nor a weapon could harm anyone who is practicing metta. One's mind becomes calm immediately. As soon as you sit down to meditate, your mind becomes calm. Because your mind is not restless and, not going wandering all over the place. Why is that? Because you have only metta towards everybody, right? Your heart and mind are very pure, right? Not entirely or not altogether, then you'll be enlightened. But on the whole, unlike the hateful person who is always looking for other people's faults, right? You will be pure, right? So, and one's complexion brightens. Don't you like that? One dies without confusion. If one does not gain any spiritual advancement, one is reborn in a Brahma world when you die. What we need is a change in our attitude. We could use this, may you be happy, peaceful, and free from suffering as a slogan. It could be a meditation too. Bhavana is not something mysterious. It's a special energy created by focusing the mind on a wholesome word or phrase. Now, even when we do metta meditation, we are focusing on something good, right? May you be well, may you be happy, things like that. The idea of metta has a releasing quality. Releasing means releasing you of all the, bad thoughts that you may be having about things or happenings or people or whatever. Now, this releasing quality is because our mind is usually limited by selfish desires, right? By being free of this selfishness, one is able to wish well-being for others. Without that, you cannot, you cannot wish for others if you are only thinking of yourself. It is not only hate that defiles our mind. The three worldly dhammas, that is desire or greed, ill will or hate, and ignorance or delusion. All the other defilements are often due to ignorance. Ignorance is at the base, and others come because of ignorance. These have kept us chained to the world for a long time. The lobha or craving is what the Buddha calls a sickness. People are restless and they try to overcome their restlessness by engaging in sensual pleasures. Technology provides more appealing and attractive things that the worldling thirsts for, longs for, wishes. But all these end in frustration and suffering in the end. They try to gain happiness through their bodies, and they try to maintain this body by decorating it and giving it comfort. But in the end, we leave this body behind. And it's the mind that we take. This mind could get polluted very quickly by hatred, greed, and ignorance. To prevent this, one should concentrate or attain samadhi. If one develops thoughts of metta and continue thinking of metta always, When engaged in other activities too, such a person is able to spread metta to everyone she or he meets. This is called Cheto Vimutti, and that one will be able to enjoy the 11 gains of developing metta. The 11 gains that we spoke of a little while ago. Another quality that can help us to gain freedom is karuna, or compassion, or kindness. Not only for those who are suffering in the world, but also to all beings equally. If we could spread our kindness by helping, it will give us the opportunity to develop kindness instead of hate. Then we could never be, angry with other people and hate people. To live comfortably as the Buddha did, we should develop mudita, or altruistic joy at the success of others. When we see another doing better than us, we feel irritated and dislike towards that one. This is jealousy and envy. Instead, if we think that everyone likes to be happy and comfortable, and this person has achieved material comfort for which I can be happy. Like parents who are happy when they see their children doing well. Now, if we can think like that about anybody who is doing well and not feel jealous or envious, you will gain merit. This quality of altruistic joy is a rare quality in the world. That's what Buddha says. The next one is equanimity. There are many things in the world that we cannot change. We can only look at them with equanimity. By getting into conflict with, we may only reap distress and trouble. So, we can think that any situation that cannot be changed is due to that person's previous karma, and be neutral. That doesn't mean that you don't help that person. As far as possible, you help in any way that you can. But if you cannot change the situation, then you have to think in that way. You see, otherwise, there is no compromise. By cultivating these 4 Brahma Viharas, that is metta, loving friendliness, karuna, compassion, mudita, altruistic joy, upekka, equanimity. Also, we could realize noble happiness. If we practice these, we could realize happiness, noble happiness. If we do not attempt to rearrange our lives, we too will get caught in the dangerous fire of hate and be destroyed. The media broadcasts only about incidents and happenings that lead to anger and hate. If we could develop an equanimous state of mind when we hear them, we could live peacefully, not get involved in those. The Buddha arose in the world to show us how we could purify our minds and be liberated from the cycle of rebirth. Buddha was able to help Many that were downtrodden and considered lowly, by his great compassion and wisdom, he was able to use strategies that removed the dirt and dross that covered their minds and revealed the goodness or merit they had gathered in their previous life. Now look at some of the people that he, just a few of them, right? Angulimala, the serial killer. Sunita, the low-caste untouchable. Patachara, who had lost everyone and everything, etc. If you think of all, all the others that Buddha helped, sometimes Buddha went miles to help just one person. Now these people we talked about had punna or wholesome deeds that helped them to attain arahantship. The Buddha cannot give nibbana to anyone who has no merit of their own. The Buddha helps those who have merit or kusala to deepen those wholesome qualities and find liberation. Even today, we can see that happening. We should realize that in our journey through samsara, we may have done many skillful, meritorious actions, but now they have not surfaced at the moment due to some karma. They will not come up without our effort. We should meditate now. Some people think that meditation is for old age, when we are about to die. This is wrong thinking. Ayoniso manasikara. A concentrated mind, that is samadhi chitta, can find solutions to many problems that crop up in daily life. Especially, one could spend, when one practices the Brahma Viharas. You see, when one practices the Brahma Viharas, you could find solutions to your problems in daily life too. To practice meditation, one could spend a few minutes as you awake in the morning. This will help one in their livelihood when faced with problems in their workplace. Also, at the end of the day, before going to sleep, a few minutes of meditation will calm the mind and give that person a dreamless sleep. For one who pays special attention to your mind on these two occasions, the beginning and the end of the day, gradually, little by little, one will turn one's mind towards some meditation and try to rid oneself of greed, hatred, and delusion. Due to the attractive nature of these three fires, the whole world is burning from them. Our senses are burning from them too. When we are able to calm and extinguish these fires, we see Nibbana. Then we see the real nature of the world, that there is only impermanence, anicca, unsatisfactoriness, dukkha, and no self, anatta. We don't realize that this world is only anicca, dukkha, and anatta. So it is for that reason that we meditate, so that we could realize this truth We are all the time under this delusion. So, friends, that is the end of this explanation of this verse. So, please sit down with your upper part of the body straight, the spine, the neck, the head, and the lower part of the body. If you are sitting on a cushion, cross-legged, or if you are sitting on a chair with your feet flat on the ground, sit comfortably and take a few deep breaths. Now you're focusing on loving kindness and compassion, right? Think of those two things and how they would affect you as well as others. It is a love that you will make in your heart and mind. It is to help yourself to connect with the energies of loving kindness and the heart, and therefore it is called Metta Sutta, right? So now let us start. Close your eyes. Now you start with yourself, right? May I be free from anger. Think of those words. May I be free from anger. May I be free from sadness. May I be free from sadness. May I be free from pain. May I be free from pain. May I be free from difficulties. May I be free from difficulties. May I be free from suffering. May I be free from suffering. May I be healthy. May I be healthy. May my body be healthy and strong. May my mind also be healthy and strong. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be happy. May I be at peace. Now we will spread that kindness, love that we built up in our heart and mind towards others. May my family and friends and all I meet be free from difficulties. May they be free from pain and sadness. May my family and friends be free from attachment, anger, and ill will. May they be free from suffering. May they be healthy and happy. May they be at peace. Now we will extend our love and kindness towards the whole universe, right? May all people on the planet be free from suffering. May they be free from pain, grief, and despair. May all people on the planet be truly happy and be at peace. Now let us spread it even little more. May all beings of all kinds, even animals, pathas, all kinds, in all directions, be happy and at peace. Now, like in the Karaniya Metta Sutta, we will think of above and below, near and far, high and low, all types of beings, humans and non-humans, seen and unseen, all the animals and birds, fishes, all beings and creatures, with no exceptions. May all of them be happy. May they be free. May they be at peace. May all beings, wherever they are, may they all be happy, peaceful, and free. Now that you have spent a little time to spread metta to all, now let us think like this too. I open my heart. Listen carefully. I open my heart and accept loving kindness of every being and creature in return. Right now, you have spent your love and kindness to all. You are accepting their kindness and love and loving kindness in return. I let that love into my heart and I share the benefits of this meditation with everyone. May all beings be well and happy, and may there be peace in the world. Okay, friends, then we will meet in another 2 weeks, perhaps. Thank you all for coming.